Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Oh, I'm doing good. Cubs are top of the National League, National League Central right now. So, it's a good week.
That
How
is a
about for
good
you?
week. Yeah, the Masters is going on now. So if you're a golf fan, I mean that's always a very exciting week. So get to watch. Watch is a loose term. I got to listen in the background yesterday while being a part of a lot of meetings. But it's been a fairly good week. My oldest turned 10, so we're officially in the double digits now. She got we got her not a full fledged phone, but one of those watches that lets you call and text. And then now she's just been blowing up my phone the last 2 days because she can. And it's been a pretty decent week though overall. Weather's finally looking nicer. Been out, gotten to do some stuff outside the house for a couple times. So yeah, not too much to
Yeah,
complain about.
no, not too much to complain about at all. I know we've got a special guest today. I'm gonna bring in Mr. Tim Golden.
Oh,
Tim,
Hey,
how
hello.
are you doing?
I'm well. Hopefully, I've got my mute working okay and my mic working okay. Had that good 5 minute intro to practice all this stuff. So, yeah, thanks for having me. Happy Friday.
yeah, so Tim, I'm
Happy Friday to
sure
you as well.
nobody has any idea who you are whatsoever. So you want to do a brief introduction?
Sure. So, I tend to try to keep this really short and sweet. So, hi, Tim Golden, founder and CEO of Compliance Scorecard, where we help you, the MSP, have the risk conversation with your customer using our scorecards.
Awesome. And I know we were
Probably
kind
go
of
longer
joking.
and deeper or whatever, but yeah, if you haven't seen us on LinkedIn or whatever, hit us up on LinkedIn.
We the three of us are all involved in the GTIA Trustmark as well, and I know we were discussing. You guys recently have added the capability for people to process their Trustmark findings in your platform, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So, GTIA, formerly CompTIA, first and foremost, I was pretty involved in version 2.7 thousand, like the most recent version of the Trustmark program, by helping them build the control list. Having spent 20 years in living and breathing controls. So I was part of that cohort to build the control list. And then they launched with a different platform and it's been going. But now we are one of the four, we being Compliance Scorecard, are one of the four sort of, I don't know, vetted, whatever you want to call it, GTIA approved Trustmark compliance platforms to help MSPs, just like you, Henry and Josh, to manage your Trustmark program and all the things associated with it.
That's
Perfect.
awesome. Yeah, I know it's been quite a undertaking for a lot of us, but it's awesome to have tools and resources out there like that. So, all
Absolutely.
right,
Let's
Josh, you
go
want to
ahead
kick
and
off the
yeah.
first? Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into the stories here, get right into it. So, this one here comes to us from our MSP, Rockin' a Hard Place. I have a tech. Customers love them. Overall dependable, but his temper and attitude internally has been super frustrating to deal with. Anytime I meet with him to discuss expectations, it's a coin flip on whether he'll take it to heart or start yelling and throwing a temper tantrum like a teenager. A customer that loves him called me last week to let me know he was doing a great job, but they wanted to let us know that he was drinking a beer at the office because it was Friday. I spoke with him this morning about it, and once again, he flew out the handle. He said it was just one beer, and I do everything I'm supposed to do with our customers. Now, I know what needs to happen, but my question is, would you wait to hire someone else to get them up to speed or let him go today? I want to do what's best for the company while not disrupting the customers. And this is our second tech that we've been through in under a year. So we'll let our guest tackle this one. Because I've fired you in a virtual scenario, Tim. Are you extending that? Are you going to fire this guy, or what are you doing with him?
So, personnel challenges amongst any organization are always, troublesome. If there's ongoing, repeated, I want to use the word bad behavior or behavior that's unwelcomed. First you want to start to try to instill good corporate culture, right? Maybe these are one-on-one conversations where, hey, I get it, it's Friday, having a beer, probably not acceptable. But if there's beer made available in the office, you've kind of already set the precedence, right? So, does he fire the guy because he had a beer in the office? I don't know. If you bought the beer and put it in the fridge and made it available and it was a norm, probably not. But if there's this whole challenge of ongoing personality issues and traits and throwing temper tantrums, as we read over there, you can either mentor through that or fire them. Like, in my opinion, if I'm trying to mentor, an employee or whatever through those scenarios of, what good looks like by modeling good behavior, by putting those corporate culture things in place first, and they're still not getting it, then yeah, here's the door.
Yeah. What's the adage of fire fast and hire slow?
Yep.
I would absolutely be looking to
I've done
get rid of this
both.
guy as soon
I've
as
hired
possible.
fast and fired even faster. Unless, of course, it's Josh who hired me and 30 minutes later fired me in the IR game.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, Tim, I'm a little surprised you didn't say, well, what are the policies in your handbook? What is the standard that your MSP has written? What is the acceptable use around beer? I mean, come on, man.
I mean, I don't know. I get it. This is like not plug compliant scorecard, but yes, that obviously when I was referring to corporate culture, being able to support that with documented policies and procedures, of course, like even employee handbook. As I said earlier, the norm. If there's beer in the fridge and the CEO brought it and we tend to have them throughout the course of the week, then I don't really have any grounds to say, you had a beer on Friday, you're out of here. Or you,
well,
right.
Yeah, I think it's
also
different if you have it at the client place. And I guess the other thing too is, like, was it served by the client? I'm just making the assumption that it wasn't, Yeah, he had it at the client's on the client site. So
yeah, that's not acceptable. Yeah.
I mean, well, hold on here. If the client serves it, like, it's like a relationship building, I mean, you can turn it down or whatever, depending on, I think there's a lot of, it depends, right? But I think in this context, it doesn't sound like the client was like, hey, let's, have a beer, hang out, etc. Like, it sounds like he just brought it himself, which obviously that's I feel you go zero tolerance on that. Like, you can't be having that. But
yeah, no, that's and I think if you're already made up your mind that this person no longer needs to be part of your team, then they're going to do more harm to the rest of your team by keeping them on longer. So whether that's from the fellow employee morale or just teaching bad habits and people thinking that things like this are okay for them to do as well. That's I strongly think that it makes a lot of sense to just get rid of this person and cut your losses there.
Yeah, 100%. That is a great point to bring up. And that was one thing. I mean, I know I always go back to my restaurant days, but that was something that I did instill into the other managers too. I mean, if you have an employee that is, creating this kind of toxic culture, like, you end up losing your good employees if you are not willing to do anything and take actions on it. So you have to not be afraid to have the tough conversations and do what needs to be done here. So. Well, I think there's really not too much more about it to say about this. You let them go, and hopefully you're have a pool of candidates, or you're able to find somebody pretty quickly.
Hold on.
What?
So yes, all right. I'm going to be that guy because I'd love to be able to give people the benefit of the doubt. So let's just say I missed the part where he was having a beer at the client's office. Like, that probably, in my mind, definitely unacceptable. With the caveat of, if the customer said, hey, it's Friday, it's, Thirsty Thursday, like, have one beer, be an adult, do the thing. That's different. But if he just brought the beer in on his own and, like, not initiated at all by the client, no tolerance. However, my compassion hat would be, first, have a conversation with the customer and share with them the fact that we recognize that this happened. Hopefully you either noticed or didn't notice, but if you did, we're going to own it. So we apologize, talk to the customer, because you want to salvage and maintain that relationship of this is not who and what we are as an organization. So salvage the customer and work on that. But then with the employee, like I might pull them aside if it was a first time thing and be like, dude, like, what are you doing? But if this is a reoccurring thing, there might be something bigger going on in that person's life. Not that I'm a therapist and not that I'm like all those things, but I want to make sure that I'm providing them the right resources to support them. Right? We never know what's going on in each individual's lives and all that fun stuff. Maybe there's bigger issues. Maybe the guy needs help and this was like a cry for help. Who knows? Right? So I wouldn't want to necessarily like out with the bathwater, but it would definitely not be off the table. I would want to have a conversation and be like, dude, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Like, talk to me.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point too, depending on relationship and things like that. But at the end of the day, you still have a business to run. So even if you're doing that, I have no qualms doing the compassion sort of thing. I mean, I've definitely led with that way as well. But there still has to be some sort of actions that have consequences, whether that's a form of probation, suspension, something along those lines. So I still need to you're still running a business at the end of the day, and sometimes.
True.
Tims just need to be fired when they act up.
Hey, first name Tims only. The other side of this too is you probably should need to have a policy if you don't already have a policy in place about accepting gifts while on site from clients. So whether that is a beer or a gift card or whatever it is, there needs to be an established policy on how your company looks at that and handles those things.
Look at us schooling Tim on policies and procedures.
I'm trying to be very diplomatic here. Wait, let me rephrase that. I am so pleased to see that my teaching and my training and our platform and my ability to share with the community and get them educated, that they're just now spewing it back at me. See, my job is done here. I don't have to teach anybody. You guys know it. Like, go evangelize.
Yep. Tim's he's retiring now. He's got it.
Perfect.
All right, Tim. How about you school us here with this next topic then? We'll bring that one up.
Oh boy, I have to read? I didn't think there was reading involved. When a lead says, price is a factor, how low will you go on your margin? I mean, I have a big spreadsheet to calculate our costs of services to a customer. And if you end up against 5 other proposals, costs will be a factor in their decision makers. And they are a client you really, really want. So how low do you go on your margin? See, was that done with the right attitude and the right inflection? Hopefully I get the essence of what he was trying to say, computer guy.
Yeah. So I will say, personally, I am very anti any type of discounts because it undermines the perceived value that the client has. So we just don't. I will change the scope of what we provide to get the price where it needs to be for you, but to an extent. But yeah, it's when it comes to promos and discounts, there's very little amounts that I'm going to move. So how about you, Jeff?
No, I mean, I agree. You can have a statement such as hey, our goal is to, be a partner and make sure that your business is effective and secure, and lowering our price could effectively hinder our ability to live up to our partnership agreement. So I think you kind of have to stick. However, now there's always it depends, right? I think one potential thing to look about is you still, obviously to be profit and marginable. However, he said this is a client that he really wants, but he doesn't expand on it. So why do you really want this client? Now, is this client influential? Could it lead to other potential deals? Are they, are they going to be a high, center of influence that could potentially lead to more margin and more deals? Now, that's something that, is that anything you would play to your consideration, Henry, or are you still saying the price is the price?
It could potentially play into my consideration. It depends on how much that other potential income is associated with that. But it's going to have to be a lot to move the needle for me, just because it's going to undermine that relationship moving forward with the client that wants the discount, in my mind.
But Henry, we're a nonprofit. We feed little children, right? Like in the backyard with the puppies. Like, you should give us a discount because we're feeding babies and puppies because we're a nonprofit, right?
As someone that was adopted, I have no sympathy. So,
That's for the puppies. That's okay, checkers.
No, but you have to be able to cover your expenses, and unless you have egregious margins in place, your margins are what they are for a reason, to ensure that you're sustainable and can be there to service your clients well into the future responsibly. And so, whether they're a nonprofit or not, that's in order for you to kind of have almost a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that you are charging what you should, to be able to provide the services that you should.
You just hit on another hot button for me. Good friend Kyle Christensen posted the other day about profitability. I talk a lot about profitability. For those of you that are in the audience listening, go ahead and put a comment in. Do you know your cost of goods sold? Do you know your COGS? Do you know your actual FTE rate, your overhead rate, your G&A rate? Time figuring out, I should be billing $79, or do you just pick $250 out of your ass because you saw it on Reddit?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the question, is, do you understand your fully burdened rate? Oh, yeah. See, Henry just popped that up in my little chat over here, right? Profitability and margin. I guess my question back to who is it here? Computer 00, whatever the guy's name is here, would be, do you even know what your profit margin is, right? Mm-hmm. How low will you go? Do you even have the actual data to say, we are profitable, we have a X% profitability rate, before you can even get into, well, sure, I'll take a point off.
Yep.
And have you factored in cost of goods sold? Have you factored in client acquisition cost? Have you factored in lifetime value? All the things. Like, it's one thing to lower your margin. Are you sure you even know what your margins are?
Yeah, and that's, I think, a very fair point, is a lot of MSPs do not have a grasp on what their margins are or where they probably should be. Another discussion this week that we were having is around what good looks like is often paywalled in our industry. And I think that there's a lot of good initiatives out there, though, trying to democratize some of that information.
Hey, I'll be right up front. When I was an MSP, we started at $350 per unit. We defined a unit as one human and one device, period. Now, if you were one human and 3 devices, that's 4 units. Mm-hmm. Right? As long as it was 1-to-1 correlation, that was a unit. And we always started with the total number. So during the discovery process, we have 10 staff. Oh, does everybody have one? No, they have a laptop and a desktop and other. Great. I would take the sum of all the things. And then I would, $350 is where we were at. And you're like, you're crazy. That's way too much. And like, I would rather not have a customer than to have the wrong customer that isn't interested in protecting, defending, and securing their business. Now, is there wiggle room and margin in that? Yes, I know, because I knew what my COGS were. I knew what I could do. I knew where I needed to make at least X. And everything that we did had a base percentage, period. I got a different question for you, Josh. Now, I know you're probably not on the sales side, but does your MSP, well, I guess I don't want to call out your MSP. What are your thoughts, or do you have any thoughts around PTIA factor? The pain in the ass factor. Because we had a pain in the ass multiplier.
I know it's not something that we do, but I think it's something that has been talked about as far as like from a project standpoint, where hey, we have a process that needs to be followed when it comes for projects, and if all of a sudden you say, hey, we need this done, and it's a reoccurring thing, then maybe there's like after hours rates or things that are charged for that. But I mean, really what we're doing is we're taking like our target clients that we enjoy partnering with are the ones that are ready to take the operational maturity improvements. So even if they don't have a great starting, like where they are isn't great, and as long as you're willing to invest and improve their maturity, like that's what we're about. We're going to help you go through that journey and do that sort of thing. So yes, it's going to be a pain right up front, but we're pretty clear in of what is covered in the managed services, what's covered in the MSA, and then a lot of this stuff is going to be projects, and there is going to be a considerable amount of upfront cost or budget and roadmap. I mean, we're just very transparent with that. Now, I've worked at other MSPs that don't have that, and it just it creates. I mean, it does create negativity with the technicians, because they're the ones who are facing the brunt of it, right? The
Exactly.
owners and things like that aren't on the front line, and these are calling in and things aren't being done about it. I mean, it does increase stress and burnout. So it's something that I think you have to be strategic about. Maybe it's not a a flat fee, but something you have to continually monitor as a service manager.
Henry, do you think that this question that is price a factor, margins, do you think that this is a sales problem, or this is a messaging problem, or this is a ideal customer profile problem?
Probably all the above. I think that the messaging is going to help show that it's a value conversation, an business outcome conversation versus how do we get the cheapest tool, cheapest thing for the. So one of the conversations that we'll have is sure, you can go find another MSP, but you're not going to get our team. Um, that is unique to us. So they may be using similar tools, but our team is unique. The other side of that too, I think, where you turn this quickly into a business discussion, is if they're asking for those margin cuts, is okay. Well, let's discuss what's actually important to you. Do you care about the security of your business and its data? Do you care about having some type of DR plan for if you need to the worst should happen? And start turning that discussion back around to what that impact is to their business.
Yep. So I think it can be almost summed up in, if you are going to negotiate, maybe negotiate on scope and not price, and a whole lot of other things thrown in there. So let's go ahead and move on to our next story here. This one I'm gonna hand over to Henry if you want to take us through this.
Yeah. So President Donald Trump signed 2 directives targeting ex-officials that had criticized him. One order revoked the security clearance for Christopher Krebs, pretty well known, his former cybersecurity chief, and then called for a review of his work in government. Another directive targeted Miles Taylor, former Homeland Security official and anonymous author of the 2019 book Critical of Trump. Taylor was referred to the Justice Department for investigation, and Trump's accused both men of wrongdoing. This is also because Krebs now works for SentinelOne, brought them into things. And so it's kind of become this politically charged topic. But I think it does draw some good discussion for us around insider threats and potential retaliation risks. So politics aside, I would be curious, how are you guys defining controls and separation of duties with clients that you guys are potentially offboarding? that to best protect yourself and your team from retaliation or from potential damage to your reputation? Josh, you want to hop on that one first?
Yeah, no, it's a great question and a great discussion topic. And I'll go to my default thing is you hopefully have an onboarding or say if you have an onboarding, you should also have an offboarding procedure and things like that in place. So you're falling back on your documentation, how you do things, and understanding and having that, like, hey, what does this employee have access to, assigning a risk level to that employee, and what is, what do we need to kind of be worried about? It goes into security best practices. I mean, designing by RBAC, least privilege access. Like, for example, I'm fairly on a leadership role and in charge of our security. I can't get to our backups now. I know when I say that, I could contact people, I can create an account, whatever, but like I don't have real, like, that's separated from myself. I have no idea how to access them, right? So um knowing what can and can't, and if you have a high profile employee or something like that, again, going back to restaurant management days, I've had to fire a GM. Like, that's a pretty big deal, and you're going into the whole reputation. You have to be upfront with the communication. I mean, you have to have all of your ducks and everything in a row. Follow the offboarding process, make sure that you get everything, and if it's a high profile employee, making sure that they're locked out of things, that they don't have any access backdoors. You're getting all of their access keys to things like that. And maybe you're going as far as a communication strategy. We had to let all of the employees know, hey, obviously after this happened, we don't do it before, but we immediately after it happened, hey, we just let this person go. If he tries contacting you, please contact the management immediately. Let us know if you have any questions. We're not dragging him over the mud. We're just clear, concise communication plan. So again, from the IT perspective, maybe in some clients you're letting them know, but obviously you're at least letting your internal employees know this thing too. So have a risk level associated, know what is there, and what the potential is. I mean, it's almost like a tabletop, right, where you're like, hey, if this person gets compromised, what could potentially happen, and then building your documents and your procedures and things around that.
Jim, you have any
have
thoughts
lots
on this
of
and how mitigating mitigating the reputation risk? And I mean, I guess it goes both directions here. Is when you have a toxic breakup, the employer may be bad mouthing the previous employee, or the previous employee may be bad mouthing the employer. So, what are your thoughts and experience around this?
I mean, yeah. So there are a couple of things that come to mind. First and foremost, an ethics policy. Josh, I love what you were saying. But I need to remember a lot of MSPs can't be as awesome as you and Henry. Right? I think you told me a couple days ago you have a very large team. The average MSP has 3 to 5 employees, whatever, maybe 10 employees on the average. And so when I think about how do I take a smaller MSP, a 1 or 2 person, or even 5 or 10 person MSP, and break these things down? Like an ethics policy, like when it was just Maureen and I building compliance scorecard, we already knew what each other's ethics were. But now that we have a team of over 20 FTE, and now we actually have an ethics policy. So we know we start right in the very beginning of, even during the interview process, this is who our company is. This is the culture we believe in. And you're either coming into this culture and growing and working alongside us in this amazing culture, or you're not. And part of that is integrity, ethics, right? And go through our whole whatever. But as a small MSP, starting with that corporate culture of defining what your own ethics are, getting everybody on board so everybody now knows what that is, then reviewing and looking at employment agreements. A lot of employment agreements have some form of ethics or some form of, don't say bad shit in them, right? A lot of employment agreements have that kind of stuff. So it all starts with setting the precedence of, hey, we don't do this kind of stuff, or we do. And then having the policy, the procedure in the employment contract, i.e., some legal kind of representation that says this is what you can and cannot do from an ethical perspective. Now, this whole Trump, he said, she said, you did, I did, whatever, this is all just, I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to get into all the political components. But if we started with a corporate culture of, hey, we're kind of ethical and people with integrity, we build that into our culture, we build that into our policy, we build that into our employment agreement, and stuff goes haywire, well, you knew this coming into what we were doing. In fact, it's happened to me in one of my previous employments. I had a staff member, similar culture, different company, not compliance scorecard, similar culture to and what I build in our tech team and I have for years. And I had an employee that did his job well, was amazing, like worked really hard, was really, really productive. And then, out at a show one time, he's drunk, he's mouthing off, he's, making derogatory remarks. This is at a different company, by the way. I want everybody to know that. And I'm like, dude, this is not how we act. You don't say that crap. And if you do, you don't certainly say it in front of me because I'm going to deck you. And so I've been presented with those scenarios where you get the bad mouthing, you get the whatever, as this executive order targeting these officials that have the presumption of we don't know, we're proven until guilty and proved, whatever. But if this happened to me, which it did, I instilled the culture. I had a corporate policy. I had an employment agreement. They knew. And they were out. Oh, right back to our original conversation 30 minutes ago. You're out.
Yeah. No, and that's, I think there's also from the employer aspect of this, our viewpoint is, employee, is that like a lot of people just apply for a job because they need a job and don't necessarily vet the organization to ensure that you have aligned core values. And so you're setting yourself up for failure if they do not have values that align with you. And Tim, to your point, if they don't have an ethics policy or at least loosely defined within the employment contract, don't go all surprise Pikachu of that coming back to bite you.
Yeah, well, I can take this back to a client. Again, previous MSP worked with smaller counties, and there was a county that reached out because they had an employee who everything was tied to his personal account, his Hotmail or Outlook or something like that. And this is like official county business minutes and access to all of this. And he got mad and up and left. And like, now what do you do? And it's like, you need to realize these things before they happen. I mean, from an MSP perspective, especially if you're smaller, you might have, instead of setting up like just something simple, instead of setting up a shared alert mailbox or a shared vendor mailbox, like if it's one or two, you probably have things under your personal email. What happens if you let that person go and now you're locked out of these tools and your systems and you don't have access, and now you're looking at downtime or worse. So you get it, if it's smaller, but these are things as you're improving your operational maturity, like that need to be thought about and documented and tested.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be hard, right? Even small MSPs can start to build that kind of culture with 3 or 4 people. And you can start to do that right at the very beginning from the interview process to the employment agreement. It doesn't have to be hard. There's lots of resources available to kind of make that kind of thing available in your MSP. And as a smaller MSP with just a couple people, you're probably better positioned than bigger ones that don't have it, because then all that change management gets to be a pain in the neck. So do it now while you're small.
Your ability to be agile is way better when you're
Yes,
smaller. So All right, well, let's go ahead and go to the next topic and talk more about our favorite topic of security stuff. So, multiple customers as a consortium. I have 3 customers that are interested in contracting with me. There are basically just 3 small nonprofits that are in the same line of work. Essentially, they want a deployment of a shared VoIP server and some retained hours for support. So, they're going to sort it out themselves as to who pays which amount. Has anybody ever done a deal with this? How do you structure it? Who's the customer of record, and how do you build this? Sounds like a great idea.
So let's just like cut to a picture of a dumpster fire being pushed down the road by some trash pandas. Like,
That's fine. They're nonprofits.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out.
Right?
yeah,
Just 3 Spider-Man. It's the Spider-Man meme. Let's all point at each other.
yeah. So we I think all understand that there's a lot of risk associated to that, but let's clarify for people. Why would you not want to do this, Tim? Why would you or why would you have reservations about those organizations combining, whether from a security standpoint or from a financial billing standpoint?
Well, obviously, there's an ownership consideration. There's an accountability consideration. There's a who's paying who. Like, this just gets really squishy middle. And, I've kind of seen these things happen where, you get, I hate to say, 3 or 4 churches that don't have a lot of money, but want to be able to share their resources. Now they're churches. Like, they're religious people. They're supposed to be good and honest and all, like, so of course we could do this for like a group of churches. Like, I'm not picking on the church as a whole, but I am saying that there's like, who do I bill? And if the payment doesn't come in, who do I yell at?
Hold on.
Who do I? Go ahead.
I want to take it a step further. Let's throw billing out. Let's say that they actually have a gentleman's agreement and they all play nice and they bill, and you don't have any billing issues. What happens when one of them has a security incident? Who's paying for that breach? I mean, like, if there's something with the VoIP system, and CVE 0 day, whatever leads to some sort of a security incident. I mean, whose cyber insurance are you using at that point? Or if they don't have any, like, who's on the foot for that bill? What happens when company A says, "Hey, company B isn't playing and wants you to disconnect them"? What happens when company A now all of a sudden has access to company C's data? And like, where does that come into? I think there's more issues here than just billing and business.
There is.
Well, and I think the initial post talked about VoIP considerations specifically, and we all know that telco is famous for not having complex taxes and usage information around it. So
of course not. There's no FCC stuff in there. Like, who cares about compliance? Oh wait.
Yeah, right. And that's
and heaven forbid they're in different states, and heaven forbid they're in California. Like, yeah.
And who gets priority on the point of contact? Let's say that you get contacted by the 3 different organizations for different things. Who if you have one of them that's overusing, does that mean that? Yeah, it just seems like a hot mess to me. But
I'll play devil's advocate here for a minute, because I mentioned churches. I might as well mention devil advocate. I can foresee, with clear lines in the sand, clear responsibilities, and clear MSA of what is and what isn't being provided, I could actually foresee something like this actually working with shared services. And I say that because, go ahead, Josh.
I was say you better get that MSA vetted by legal.
Of course. I'm not saying willy-nilly, but there are ways for organizations to share resources. It gets a little squishy in the middle, of course, but there are ways to structure things around shared resources, period. I know that because whatever. I know, long story. But there are ways of making that happen. Some of the key factors of that is making sure there are clear roles, clear responsibility, clear lines in the sands, who's responsible for what, billing, all those things that, we kind of brought up as the negative components. But I can foresee this being really great. We do have some really great churches here in our area, and they actually do come together and work together on different things. Now, do they share phone systems? No. Do they share internet connections? No. But they share resources. They share other components that might not specifically be in the IT world. And I've seen it work.
Yeah.
We could
No,
find
and
ways.
there's a reason buying groups exist.
Yeah.
So it can work, but it has to be structured very carefully.
I mean, there are
all right.
countless mega MSPs that do that already. I won't name them all out, but we all know who they are. I buy from this MSSSS whatever marketplace P, and I get it at a discounted rate. Like, I could probably rattle off 15 of those in a heartbeat without calling them out. But you know who they all are. They exist.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to our next story. Our next two are going to be some fun ones here. So let's start with the first one. What's a cybersecurity myth that causes real problems? We've all heard about things about cyber that aren't true. Sometimes it's funny, but some of these cause problems. What's one myth you hear all the time that needs to go?
Well, the famous one, and I'm pretty sure it was in the thread, is the I'm too small to be a target. I'm irrelevant to a potential attacker. And then common one that is that we see is all MSPs do the same thing, at least from a client perspective. That's a maddening one where you walk in and MSP A has no issue with everyone having shared credentials in the dentist office, and they're using CLAM AV and so forth. And from a client perspective, they don't necessarily understand the difference between an MSP like that versus one that, say, is designed and built around a security framework, and what the implications to their business and potentially are from that.
Yep.
What about you, Tim? What are your things that you've heard as far as cybersecurity myths?
I have a nephew that just graduated college in a computer degree, and he's going to take care of my IT. Years ago, I used to hear, as a current and past developer, "Oh, I bought a copy of Front Page. We're good. I can build a website. I know how to use Wix. We're fine."
We're, hey, software developers and techs, I know what they're doing. We don't need these security controls.
Yeah.
Or Macs can't get viruses.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Why do I need to replace my computer? I mean, I've had my phone for 10 years. It's just fine. My computer, I can get probably 10 years out of it too.
Sales and marketing should have the ability to install whatever they need when they need it. You're inhibiting sales.
Yep. Hold on. What about this one? It's proper security to change your password every 90 days.
I'm sorry, I still kind of do that on some things. Wherever I can't have passkeys or FIDOs or whatever, I do change my passwords frequently on some things. Anything internet facing.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's lots of myths that can cause more problems than they're worth. There's the sales objections we get all the time. I'm too small. They don't care. Why should I? Oh, how about this one? Insurance will pay for it.
Yeah. Our stuff's in the cloud. It's secure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I don't want to pay for that. Right back to that margin conversation of, can we negotiate? No, the price is the price. Yeah, but I'm only 3 people. The price is the price. Like, do you go to the grocery store and haggle over a banana? No, you just buy the flipping banana, right? Like, you recognize you need potassium, you want that yellow goodness, you need a little bit of peanut butter, buy the banana.
Mm-hmm. Well, that gets to the discussion we've had many times about whether or not your clients take your advice akin to what they would from a physician. but yeah, there's a whole long thread there that we could pull on. But yeah, I think a lot of the SMB market, there's a lot of cybersecurity myths there that all are directly correlated to the things that you're seeing in like the Verizon DFIR report, where it's just they just don't understand. We probably could go one by one through that report and find a myth that's associated with a causation to those findings.
I mean, isn't AI just going to fix it all for me? I don't need cyber AI will protect me. I kind of, I was gonna say, I shit you not. I had a customer, regulated industry, that literally came to us and was like, "Yeah, we're not gonna do SOC 2. I'm gonna have AI build my entire SOC 2 program." Now, this is like a $25-30 million organization, and all their customers are all regulated, a whole 9 yards. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not willing to spend 20 grand in a $20 million business. I'm just going to have AI build my entire SOC 2 program and I'll be done. Because I can Google that shit and I can AI that stuff with Claude and Copilot and be done."
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with that audit, my friend.
Or I'm sure your favorite. Well, I'm compliant. I have my SOC 2. That means I'm secure.
Yeah, that's
and it's scoped down to a machine.
And it's only the management domain.
Yep.
It's only like one COSO control.
All right. Well, we're having fun with this. Here's the fun news story of the week. If you guys didn't see, Microsoft turned 50 years old today. So this was 6 days ago at this point, but 50 years ago, Microsoft was born, and Mr. Bill Gates himself made this Reddit post. So anything that you would obviously Bill Gates is listening to this right now. So anything you want to thank him for, say.
Thank you,
man,
for the amazing 8.1 operating systems that only allow for 8 characters. Oh, wait, sorry. I am still running into the 255 character limit 50 years later.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any. Yes, obviously, all of our careers are deeply tied to the creation of this, but yeah.
Not me. I'm a Linux guy.
Wow.
Oh, wait, isn't Microsoft built on Linux? Oh, damn it. Is Bill listening? Hey, Bill, can I borrow some money?
I mean, hey, all Windows it's a GUI for PowerShell. Come on now. Or maybe it's Graph now. I don't know.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, most servers nowadays, you install it without the GUI, and it's just, PowerShell. Sorry.
All right. Well, I think we've tackled all of the world's problems here. What do we have upcoming? Things to look forward to.
Well, Josh, how about you start off there? You're doing the IR games coming up, right?
Yep. Still doing the IR games. So we do a free one the last Friday of every month. So please come check that out. Signups are available. You can go to our website at irgame.ai.
Awesome. I'm going to be at the PAX 8 Security Bootcamp in Chicago next week. I'll be wearing the hat of incident response at that event for their tabletop. So channeling my inner Josh for that. Then Rejection Con's coming up. So some of our friends will be speaking at that event. Tim, do you have anything that's related to that?
Yeah, I have a keynote at Rejection Con for building your, I'm going to say it, VCSO program. Damn it, I hate that word, but okay. 7 steps to building out a compliance as a service offering as one of the keynotes at Rejection Con. So we have a whole playbook and a download and calculators and all kinds of free stuff because, I like to give things away. So, but more importantly with Rejection Con, all the proceeds to go and support the Rural Technology Fund. So while we get to come in there and banter and have all kinds of fun educational stuff, there's actually tangible community results with the Rural Technology Fund. So buy a ticket, donate now. Even if you don't come and listen to me and reject us all, at least some people will get some of those funds and much deserved technology.
Awesome. And then I think after that is coming up very quickly, the MSP GeekCon.
Oh yeah, MSP Geek.
You're doing a pre-day?
There. I'm there too. I'm Roy Kent these days. Here, there, everywhere. Sorry. Ted Lasso reference. No, we are hosting a pre-day at MSP Geek. For those that are not familiar with MSP Geek, have you been living under a rock? Anyways, MSP Geek is a great community for all of us to come together and have really, really educational components, from the level 1, just hired help desk technician, whatever, all the way up to business decision makers. Compliance Scorecard is sponsoring a half-day pre-day where we're taking you from zero to hero and getting you audit ready. We are actually bringing in a third-party audit company that works side by side with us on where do I start, all the way through here's your audit and you're either go, no go. So we're really excited about bringing on a hands-on lab experience from, I know nothing about compliance, get my SOC 2, not AI generated.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to attending that event as well. I think I'll be assisting with some of the tabletops, nice. Special interest discussions there. So, and then as always, there is the IT Nation Secure that we have on our radar. I know Topper's not with us today, but certainly looking forward to that with some of the things that are going on in the background for planning for it. It's going to have a very different feel this year, I think, to the benefit.
Could I interject a little bit there? Because I'm really excited about what the IT Nation team, Matt Topper, Victoria, and them are all doing this year. I'm really excited because I've had a couple conversations about how they're vetting and how they're bringing in speakers. And damn it, Josh, you better have submitted. Like the way that they're looking at running the event, I feel like is just going to be so much better this year. And I think that the content is hopefully going to, well, not hopefully, it is going to be so much better. Maybe you'll get to see people like Josh actually speaking because he needs to be up on that stage because he has good things to say for the community to hear.
Well,
so, sorry, Josh. Plug for you, my friend.
I appreciate it, but all I can say is just stay tuned. Can neither confirm nor deny at this point, but stay tuned. So
excited.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone. That is our show today. Tim, thanks for hopping on, especially at short notice. And then if you do want to be a guest on this show, we do have a form for you to fill out. Fill out the form, and we can reach out to you to be on a future episode. Other than that, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day and enjoy your weekend. We will see you here next Friday. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me.
See y'all.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.